Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another live with me, Ed Kpis. It's great to see you here. We are in May. Can you believe we are in May? Not only that, but a very special date out there for a lot of Star Trek fans, right? So, Star Wars fans even. May the 4th be with you. May the 4th. May the 4th. I can't believe that we are in May already. So this month of May is incredibly special. Last month, we looked at marketing. This month, we are talking every single Wednesday around this time, around 9:40, 9:30, 9:40. We are talking about May being the month of sales. Sales are incredibly important to any business. If you don't make sales, if you don't actually bring some money into the business doesn't last very long at all. So we need to make more sales. But not only that, sales that are profitable, incredibly important to make the profit out of that. You make more sales when you're not profitable, you go out of business much quicker. So we're going to be, or I'm going to be sharing with you some of the elements and areas around sales, not only just around the sales process, but also around sales techniques, so you can take as much away of this as possible. Now, the great news is there's loads that I can share with you. The great news is you're probably doing some of this stuff already. Maybe you're doing it incredibly well, incredibly disciplined, and every time. Sometimes maybe you're just a little bit lazy on the sales process and don't follow through on certain areas that actually could improve and increase your sales. Or maybe you're not doing some of these things, and these will be brand new things that you can implement into your business and just try out, test and measure them, and make sure that they are right for you before you move forward even further. But I guarantee you that everything that I'm sharing with you will be incredibly valuable. It'll either secure what you're doing and go, yeah, I'm doing the right thing here, or maybe you need to do something slightly different. And also, as always, at the end of these lives, if there's something come up for you, just reach out to me and talk to me. I'll be happy to help you. So we're focused on today. We're actually just going to be looking at the sales process itself. And the first thing that you need to be absolutely clear about in your business is that you can map out and lay out and see visually your sales process. Now, if you remember back to the marketing lives that I did, we covered lots of different areas around avatar and creating your target market, and then going from a target market to actually creating the materials that will draw and attract people to you. Or maybe you're going to be reaching out to those people and it raises desire for them to have a conversation with you. So regardless whether you are in retail, let's say you're in a shop, a clothes shop, for example, or whether you're in services, maybe like consultancy or HR support, whether you're in manufacturing or any other sector of the industry in the UK, getting your sales process mapped out is incredibly important. So how many of you, you think about this, how many of you could just pull up a document from your laptop, or it's on the wall somewhere, there you go, there's my sales process. I've got a flow chart that's showing my sales process. If you haven't got that and it's just in your head, even if it's you on your own, I guarantee you that it will help you improve your sales as you run through. So let's just break it down a little bit. What is the sales process? What does that actually mean, Ed? So earlier on, I said to you, we in April did marketing for April. Well, actually, as these leads start to come in, as you're attracting those individuals, they may come from various different areas. They might be inbound. Someone might be calling you, or they may walk through the door in your shop. They may be outbound, so you might be actually reaching out to people and attracting them in, or it may be that you're getting them, which is probably an outbound marketing strategy, but social media, you might be reaching out through them through social. But whenever the individual is interested in having a conversation with you, or they're asking for a quote from you, or they're asking how much something is in your shop, they're a lead. Those people are people that will potentially buy from you. It's an opportunity for them to buy from you. So at that stage, we then need to be going, right, okay, so what's our sales process? And just take it step by step. So in a, let's say in a consultancy, for example, or service-based industry, let's say you're a landscape gardener, or something like that, or a builder. You're having this conversation with people. The first step may be to book in a phone call, and then the next step might be to go and visit them and provide a quote, or some time to gather information to provide a quote. The next step then may be to send the quote to them, and then after that follow up on the quote to see if you've got the work or not. And that might be just the simplest process that's there, but there may be elements missing. And the only way you really know whether there are elements missing or not is by testing and measure kind of each piece as you go through. So it's really important that once we've laid out our process, that we're testing and measuring as we go along. So I've had 10 leads come in for some building quotes. I've booked 8. All right, so 8 of them in the out of the 10, 2 of them have disappeared. Well, where have those 2 disappeared to? We need some analysis, we need some data on that. They've just gone cold, have they gone with someone else, have they changed their mind? But it's useful to spend a little bit of time figuring out where those 2 may have gone. Because if it's something that you can do, something you can control, some way in which maybe you didn't respond quick enough, or maybe you didn't say the right things, position in the right way, for example, then you need to know that so you can improve that process. And then, okay, so I've booked the 8 calls, and now when I turn up, I've turned up, but do you know what? Only 7 of them actually were there when I turned up. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason why that one didn't. Now, it could be something really simple. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot. There you go. Okay, well, what could I do about that completely forgot? Have I got a system in place that can remind people to that I'm coming? A text message, a phone call? Have I put any of that in my process that will likely increase the amount of people who are there waiting for me to provide a quote for them? Or there may be something else that's going on that's kind of out of your control, but you need to know, you need to understand. Okay, so I've provided these, I've turned up, 7 people have been in, and now I've provided a quote for them. So I've understood what they want. But out of those 7, maybe one of them, actually, I can't do the work. I can't provide the service that they are requiring. And there may be something within your sales process. It's not asking the right questions right at the beginning to ensure that they're getting the work. Just saying good morning to Jamie Rogers. Good morning, Jamie. We've got Jamie, who's just starting up a fab franchise, networking franchise. Good to see you. Nice that you tagged in Amanda and Jeff on here. Yeah, those both individuals who love a good sales process, especially Jeff loves a good sales process. So we're testing and measuring as we're going along, and so let's just assume that you can't do the work. Now, I've had this recently where I asked someone to come and look at a job for me in my house. They asked me a few questions on the phone. They turned up and they went, "Do you know what, we can't do this." And actually, if they'd have just asked a few other questions, more specific questions, it wouldn't have wasted their time. So you can do the same thing within your sales process as well. It's like, am I asking the right questions? Well, how do you know you're asking the right questions? Well, you need to stop and think about the questions you need to ask and get them written down in some sort of script. So as part of your sales process, there may be scripts that are required underneath those. And I'll come on to those a little bit later on. So, okay, so now this person's received a quote. Now they've gone cold on you, right? So you've received a quote, there you go. And you're going to say to them that you're following up in a day or 2 or whatever it might be. And they've gone cold on you. They won't answer your calls. They've just trolled you completely. And that's really annoying, right? But you need to understand or try to understand why that is. What's happened? Again, have they decided against it? Is it not in their budget? Have they found someone else cheaper that can do it for you? For them, what is it that's gone on for them? And you need that information, because with that information, we can make a much better job of the steps prior to landing that quote. For example, you're too expensive. Well, actually, I need to then position pricing. I need to position quality. I need to position my guarantee. I need to position what's different about me in the industry that I work in, which all came out of the marketing side, right? That we did in April. Or maybe they've decided against it. Well, look, that's not in your control, okay? And people, you won't get every sale. So that's okay. You might not need to do anything about that. Or maybe they don't think that you're right for the job or fit for the job or whatever it might be. And again, you can work on your own sales techniques, your own sales conversion conversation to ensure that they feel incredibly safe with you and excited to work with you. And next week, we're going to dive into that a lot more. So once we've gone through mapping out the sales process, you will find under there that there are going to be things that you need to add in, scripts that you might need to add in, documents that you might need to add in, checklists that you might need to add in. You might need to create systems in your business. So let's move on a little bit of that into that a little bit more deeply. So one of the things that you need to commit to yourself, right, is just spend some time, get your diary out and find some time over the next week or two to just go through your sales process. Okay, if you don't know what it is, create one. If you do know what it is, go and assess it and go and maybe do some checklisting against it for yourself, on the scale of 1 to 10, how good I am at step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on and so forth. What could I do differently? Am I consistent? And then also invest some time in sales forecasts and think to yourself, wow, you know what, if I did this, then maybe my sales might improve by 10%. Well, what would that look like for my numbers? If I put those numbers into my cash flow, what would that look like to my profitability of my business by the end of the year? And those sales forecasts can be incredibly powerful and motivating to get you to stick to the good behaviors around sales. And if you if you don't do that, like if you haven't done this for a long time, then just allocating that time in the diary is probably the one thing that you need to do out of today's session. So invest a little bit of time in forecasting, in the process, in the KPIs that sit around it. And then look, when you get your sales process and you've mapped it out, what you want to be doing as much as you possibly can is systemizing your sales process. What do I mean by systemizing your sales process? Well, I mean that you don't get involved in an element of the process directly as a person. So you can create systems within a CRM, a client relationship management program, maybe within some automated software that you might be using that can send reminders, that can send quotes automatically, that can chase those quotes up electronically, and so on and so forth. So there's a bunch of stuff that you could do within your sales process that will help you, give you more time back so that you can talk to more people and keep the sales process slick and disciplined so that everybody that you talk to gets a consistent experience from the sales. And also, life gets busy, right? So forgetting to call people back or not following up or not doing it within a particular time frame that is a sweet spot for you to actually get a better return on conversion rate, then a system can really help you. But this isn't about just completely creating a system around sales. And there are businesses out there that's pretty much all they have. It is a system that they're selling, and the rest of it, it doesn't really involve human contact or human touch. They have systemized as much as possible, and then maybe there's a couple of things that are human. So you think about Amazon. There's a lot as a customer. Most of it is systemized, right? You go on site, you go and order your products, you pay for it, it did get delivered the next day. But then the human side of it comes when perhaps someone's delivering it and you see that individual. But even then, even if you don't see the individual, there's a system to leave it in a safe place or text you to say or email you to say that the item has been delivered. And then when you want to return that item, you go through the same system again. We've got robots chatbots that are working with you to try and refund or send back the item. And if you get really, really stuck, then we tend to, don't we, right? You must be honest, we get frustrated because all I want to do is talk to a person. And you know that the company is really up against the kind of seesaw, if you like, between systemizing a business and humanizing elements of the business that are really important to be human. So think about your systems. Have you got the systems in place that are automated that can help you? And if you haven't, talk to someone who's an expert in systemization. And if you don't know anyone, come and talk to me, because I know a few people that can really, really help you with that. It's not my area of expertise, but it's certainly something that I pull and put my clients in touch with so that it can help them be much more efficient and effective in their sales process and get a better conversion rate. So the investment in systems really, really helps and is paid for by the additional profits and the uplift in sales. One of the other things that you may need to create for yourself, I mentioned them a little bit earlier on, is checklists. You know, the checklists are, they may well be under each element or step of your sales process. You know, let's say, for example, turning up to do a quote in the example I used earlier. Have I turned up on time? Yes. Did my van look clean? Yes. Did I welcome the person nicely? Yes. Did I ask them specifically what they want? Yes. Have I measured the area? Yes. So all those different things, there might be a checklist that you need to go through to ensure that you get the information that is required. And those checklists could happen on all the steps, all the way through to invoicing and collection of payments as you run through. Excuse me. Well, once you have those checklists, and maybe within the system you've got scripts and things like that you'll use, one of the other things that you might want to think about are KPIs. Now, for those of you who've not heard that three-letter acronym before, KPI, it stands for Key Performance Indicators. It's looking at what the standard numerical objective standard should be for that particular element within your process. So, for example, an inbound query comes in for you to provide a building quote for a client or a potential client. How quickly should you respond to that? What is your KPI? What does good look like? Is it 2 hours? Is it 12 hours? 24 hours? A week? A month? And if you don't know, then how do you position with the customer exactly the experience that they're going to get from you? How do you market that? You know, if you imagine you stuck to and found a system and a process that said, call us, we will organise a quote within an hour. And you go, well, how would I do that? Well, you find out, right? You systemize that to make that work for the client or the prospect that's talking to you. And you put the systems in place and the training in place and the scripts in place and the KPIs in place so you can test and measure that as you run through. It could well be that the quote, you return the quote within 48 hours. So now I can say to the client, I'll have this quote back to you within 48 hours. And that's a KPI for you in your business. Now, it may well be that it's not you doing the quote, it's not you sending it. That might be someone else in the team that's doing it. But KPIs are incredibly important. Having some KPIs along your sales process so you know what good looks like and you can measure whether you are hitting the right standard is absolutely key. And if you are losing work, so let's say, for example, I'll have this quote back to you within 4 days, and you're testing and measuring, and you go, oh, wow, our conversion rate's really not good. And we look at the system behind the conversion rate, and we say, okay, so if we moved it from 4 days to 2 days and called it 48 hours, and we could systemize that, and then we could put the KPI of 48 hours to that, and then we go back and test and measure that. What happens to our conversion rate? Does it get better? Does it stay the same? Does it get worse? And we don't know. Until we change something and measure it, we don't know. One of the other things that you might want to think about when you're going through this sales process along the variant elements is incentivization for your team. Why would you incentivize your team to do their job, right? And I hear that sometimes from people, clients and non-clients alike. And the reason is because what you're looking for is to create an environment of good behaviors. So you're looking to follow a particular process and create good behaviors behind that through incentivization. So if you had a 5, 7, 24 step process and every single step needed to be taken, you want to make sure your team's following that step. And you know what we're like as human beings, we will always go to the path of least resistance. We'll skip that step, don't believe in that step. I don't understand why we do that. I'm going to do this one differently because I know better. Lots of different things that go on in your sales team's mind. And actually, by incentivizing good behaviors, good habits, to ensure that people follow the process and stick to that process because you've tested and measured it, will maintain and improve your conversion rate. Now, that has to be put alongside of testing and measuring, right? And also, when you're talking to the team, you need to have open, honest communication with the team so that they can tell you what's working and what's not working. So they go, well, I don't really do that part of the process. Well, why don't you do that part of the process? What's going on in there? What's causing a headache for you? Is it about your pain or is it about the client's pain? Is it better for the client or is it not as good for the client? And if you decide to take that process out for whatever reason, you need to spend time testing and measuring it. If you change something, so if one of the salespeople say, do you know what, that script's not very good, I use this one and I get a better result, great. That salesperson is getting better results as a result of that script. Get them to train everybody else on how to do that and follow that script as well. And that, again, builds in a culture of continuous improvement through your sales process. But incentivizing them to ensure that they stick to whatever sales process is in front of you is really important. You can do that through quality control checks. You can do that through making sure you put appraisal processes in place or systems in place to ensure that things are checked and ticked along the way and that the process is followed. And then from an incentivization perspective, well, talk to the team. What would look good for them? Is it about time off? Is it a special treat if they get something, if everybody follows the process for a particular length of time? Is it a celebration? Is it a voucher? Is it cakes on a Friday? Like, you name it, you work with a team, they will tell you what incentivization they prefer. I think one of the biggest things is sales is one of those subjects where a lot of people don't like sales. A lot of people will avoid selling to people. And actually, people don't like to be sold to either. But people love to buy things. Like, you think about going out, I'm going to buy this. Nobody goes, I'm not just off to Next to go and be sold a suit. Yeah, they go and buy something because that's what they want. So thinking about your sales process and positioning within, adding value and solving problems for individuals that they have out there. That's through the marketing, right, that we were talking about, but it also leaks into your sales process. Because when you get and start talking to people, which we're going to do in sales techniques next week, by the way, so I'm not going to dive into it today, but using the language, using the conversations in a very strong way that's leaning towards solving a problem for them, supporting them, adding value, and having that sense that they really do need you and they need to work with you, will come from making sure that you're not selling, making sure that you're giving people an opportunity to buy from you, and also giving people an opportunity to buy from you really easily as well, and hopefully more often because they love you and love what you do. So one of the things that I'm going to leave you with today is this: look, just have fun with sales. Go and experiment, go and try something new and different, and pull yourself out your comfort zone a little bit around sales. And if you've done nothing else, then start with your sales process. Spend an hour or two, put it in your diary now, and map out your sales process. Map out what it is now, map out what you think it should be as well, and then work out what your ultimate sales process is. Once you've done that, you can then start to jot down those things, those scripts, those checklists and stuff that might fit under that sales process. And once you've done that, maybe there's a few KPIs that you can measure to ensure that you're sticking to it. But have fun with it. If you're with another team member or a larger team that's a sales force within your organization, maybe there's 3 or 4 of you, have fun with sales. G each other up, motivate each other, test each other when it comes to objection handling, celebrate success together, have fun with that sales as you run through. And remember, the reason why you're doing this is to improve your profits. And we're all in business to make more money. And we make more money so that we can have the life that we want to have. We don't necessarily have to make a lot more money. We don't necessarily have to have, the biggest, most luxurious life, but your definition of what that looks like is incredibly important. And these processes, this thing that we went through today, will help give you more time back. If you're more clearer, if you're more efficient, effective through your systemization, and if you are converting at a better rate and selling more to people through great sales processes, guess what? You're going to get more time back to do more sales or to have more life. And that is a choice that you can make. So that's it for today. Go and have some fun. Please place an hour or so in your diary. Go and look through your sales process, work with your team on that. That will be one of the things that you can improve. Make sure you test and measure everything that you're doing along each way, each step of the process. See where people are dropping out, ask the question why, and understand what you might be able to do to plug the gap a little bit more. Is it a change in sales process? Is it a different script? Is it more training? You identify what that might be. Go and have some fun with it. Next week, we're going to come back. We're going to look at sales techniques. I'm going to share with you some of the top sales techniques, tips that are out there right now. And I'm also going to share with you a bit of education. You think about, when was the last time you actually sat down and learned as much as you possibly could about sales? So let's do some of that together next week. Have a wonderful rest of the week. I'll see you Wednesday, 9:30 next week here on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.